It's Capital Region Sports Saturday with Brady Farkas, sponsored by Mohawk Honda.
What is up, everyone? Brady Farkas here, Capital Region Sports Saturday, 104.5 The Team. The show brought to you by Mohawk Honda, your number one volume dealer in the Capital Region. And look, like all great players, coaches, athletes, and teams, we have studied the tape, we have made the necessary adjustments throughout the week, and we are back here looking to put on a great product here in week 2. Thanks for being with us, everybody. Here we do this every Saturday from 9 to 10 a.m. right here on your home for New York sports, 104.5 The Team and 104.5theteam.com. Big Section 2 football last night with lots of big implications in the standings. Perhaps none bigger than Shen Saratoga. We'll tell you about that game at 9:25. The big game of the night, though, took place for more than just football. Guilderland beats Albany 48-26. Guilderland moves to 3-1. But the real story was everything that took place leading up to that game surrounding Bud Kenyon. Bud Kenyon, 87 years old. 87 years old. The former Guilderland coach, he coached the team from 1965 to 1980. So 15 or 16 years, 1965 to 1980. He was set to have the field named after him at Guilderland's homecoming, which was last night against Albany. It was going to be a great night for Bud Kenyon, great night for his family, great night for Guilderland alumni, great night for Guilderland players, past and present. And then all of a sudden, all this controversy comes to light here in the recent weeks, and Bud Kenyon no longer gets the field named after him. So what happened is back in the 1970s, there were 2 incidents surrounding Bud Kenyon, which just came to light. Okay, Bud Kenyon pushed a male student down in a chair after he lurched forward in a meeting. And his second incident was he grabbed a male student by the back of the neck after he was caught peering in a girl's locker room. All this comes from a Daily Gazette story this week that was written by Jim Schultz. Great story. You can find it online. So these incidents that are more than 40 years old come to light at the last possible moment. And therefore, it seems to me as if somebody had a personal vendetta against Bud Kenyon. They waited as long as they possibly could to rain on his parade. And so what happens is an email chain starts. The emails go from the complainant to, they go from the complainant to the school board to the superintendent to the district office. And then now we get it so that the school board and the district offices are uncomfortable with giving Bud Kenyon this honor. And the quote from Superintendent Marie Wiles is, the 2 charges on file were something the board could not overcome. This does not diminish Kenyon's accomplishments. We are proud of his accomplishments, but naming a district facility entails the spirit of the entire district. So, look, you can be the judge on whether or not Bud Kenyon should have the field at Guilderland named after him. The bottom line is this everything here was set in motion. It had been approved. It had been planned on. People were flying in. Bud Kenyon was here. He was ready to go. And at the last possible moment, someone brings these complaints to light. And Bud Kenyon even said in that Daily Gazette story that these incidents had been laid to rest a long time ago. One was settled in a handshake and one was settled in a reprimand from the school. So Bud Kenyon cannot get the field at Guilderland named after him. The Dutchmen do win at 48-26. Bud Kenyon was not in attendance, had a large contingent of supporters with him during the time at a local restaurant. So again, you be the judge on whether or not Bud Kenyon should have the field named after him. But it seems to me unfortunate that all these plans were set in motion and then someone came and brought this to light at the last possible moment. So Brady Farkas, 104.5 The Team, 104.5theteam.com. It is Capital Region Sports Saturday, brought to you by Mohawk Honda, your number one volume dealer in the Capital Region. And look, we as a society in sports are enamored with winning streaks. We love to see how far a streak can go, the history that a streak may bring back to light. Look, Joe DiMaggio's 56-game hitting streak. We love that. Teams that haven't lost in X amount of games, we've lost that. We've had a lot of those in Section 2. You look at Maple Hill girls basketball didn't lose a game in the Patroon Conference from 2006 to 2015. There have been a number of others. Burnt Hills volleyball Section 2 dominance. But one of the most impressive streaks in all of Section 2 that you probably don't know about involves Saratoga Central Catholic High School golf. They haven't lost since 2012, 49 consecutive match wins. And on the phone right now, we have Dale Long Jr., who's the head coach of Saratoga Central Catholic and also the son of former Major League Baseball player Dale Long Sr. So on the phone is Dale Long Jr. Coach, thanks for being with us. Do you ever stop and appreciate just how impressive this streak really is?
Oh, sure. All the time. You know, it's any type of a streak is something to be proud of, and this the length of this streak is sometimes it's mind-boggling. But you know, you got to enjoy the ride. As several coaches in the league have told me, enjoy the ride while you're on it. You know. Is
there ever any pressure attached to the streak?
Oh, sure. You know, anytime that you're on a winning streak and you have an exceptional group of kids that really you have a target on your back, and everybody always wants to go up against and play against the first place team, and so we definitely feel it. And my kids, they seem to rise to the occasion. It seems to bother them less than it does me sometimes.
Maple Hill girls basketball Patroon Conference streak. They finally lost last season, but they hadn't lost since 2006 in the Patroon Conference until last year. Hoosick Falls football had a 59-game Section 2 win streak snapped just earlier this season. These are pretty unbelievable streaks coming from pretty small schools. That's pretty cool, isn't it?
Yeah, it absolutely is. You know, we're an extremely small school. You know, our graduating classes are somewhere between 25 and 40 is a big class for us. So, yeah, it takes every once in a while an exceptional group of players comes along in a particular sport. You know, we had it in baseball in 2009, 2011 with 3 sectional, 2 regional champions during that period. And this is our turn for golf at Saratoga Catholic.
It's easy to see sometimes how at some of the schools I alluded to, you end up just with a culture through a youth program where people play together, and they're from these small communities. They play together, come up through the ranks, and it translates into the high school, into your high school career. Well, that's not the case for Saratoga Central Catholic. Being a private school, you're drawing kids from everywhere. So these kids haven't, number one, it's not a team sport. And number two, they haven't necessarily built that camaraderie up over years and years and years. Does that make it more impressive to you? And how are you doing? How are you getting so good without that traditional feeder program?
Well, you know, I think that my predecessor, I inherited this team in 2012 from a legendary Section 2 coach, Mike Beeson, who sadly we lost to ALS just after the 2012 season. And he instilled a sense of, you know, school spirit and team spirit with that small group of kids that he turned over to me. And a lot of these kids, they actually do get together on their own. They love the game of golf. They play in this area. You know, a couple of them have joined one of the local golf courses here, and so they do get out and play together. And so far, you can see the results. You know, they enjoy each other. There's a good team chemistry. And Chris Smith, who is the head coach at Canajoharie, has started a program during the summer where on Mondays, anybody who wants to, any young player can come out to Canajoharie Country Club, and he sets up little matches for these kids, whether it's a par 3 match, a chip and putt, a 9-hole Callaway system, whatever. And so that's really helping generate an interest in golf, at least in the WAC.
It's Capital Region Sports Saturday, brought to you by Mohawk Honda on 104.5 The Team and 104.5theteam.com. Talking with Dale Long Jr., the head golf coach at Saratoga Central Catholic High School. If the name sounds familiar to our listeners, that's because your dad, Dale Long Sr., a 10-year Major League Baseball veteran, spent the last years of his career, 1962 and 1963, with the New York Yankees, and that meant that he caught Yogi Berra at the end of his career also in those same years. So the big story of the week has been the passing of Yogi Berra. He died tragically on Tuesday night, late Tuesday night, early Wednesday morning at the age of 90. I'd be remiss if I didn't ask you, Dale, what's your thoughts on Yogi Berra's passing?
Well, obviously, you know, I grew up during that era, during Yogi's time. Remember it quite a bit. And hearing stories that, you know, my father would tell coming home about Yogi and Mickey Mantle and Whitey Ford, and There's very few icons left from that generation, so he'll be sorely missed. You know, if you ever saw films of Yogi playing, he certainly wasn't conventional. He unorthodox. I don't think he ever saw a pitch he couldn't hit. But he certainly got the job done. You know, now you see these athletes who spend the winter working out and getting chiseled, and Yogi was far from that type of an athlete. But he certainly got the job done, and he will be missed by not only the Yankees but baseball altogether. Yogi
Berra, one of the all-time greats, the Hall of Famer, was an 18-time All-Star and 3-time American League MVP. Dale Long Jr., the head golf coach at Saratoga Central Catholic. Coach, best of luck with the rest of your season. Best of luck on continuing the streak, and hopefully we're talking to you again this later this fall season here after hopefully a third consecutive Section 2 title for you guys. Best of luck. Thanks for being with us.
Thank you for having me. I appreciate it.
There he goes, Dale Long Jr., the head golf coach of Spa Catholic. 49 consecutive match wins for Spa Catholic, an unbelievable streak, one of the best going in Section 2. And really, wouldn't you like to be a fly on the wall in that household growing up, hearing stories about Yogi Berra, about Mickey Mantle? The Berra passing was one of the main stories of the week, and certainly he gave a lot to American society, gave a lot to baseball, gave a lot to athletics. So cool here to have that connection in the Capital Region. It's Capital Region Sports Saturday, brought to you by Mohawk Honda on 104.5 The Team and 104.5theteam.com. High school football top performer of the night is Guilderland quarterback George Marinopoulos. He threw for 205 yards and 4 touchdowns in the Dutchman's win over Albany, 48-26. He also ran for a score from 27 yards out, and the Dutchman moved to 3-1. We love to talk high school sports on Capital Region Sports Saturday, again brought to you by Mohawk Honda, where at Mohawk Honda, what does it take to be number one? They're striving for perfection every single day, and they're trying to figure out the way to be number one every single day by providing the most impeccable customer service that they can find. They do all the things right all the time for all their family of customers. They have over 1,000 new and pre-owned vehicles available to select from. They're open extended hours in all of their departments to better service you, the customer. You can shop over 10 acres of savings opportunities or online at 24/7 at MohawkHonda.com, and they'll provide you the lowest no-hassle price to suit your budget. At Mohawk Honda, they've got over 180 trained automotive experts going above and beyond to make sure all of your needs are met. And you can ask them about their Mohawk Exchange program. Okay, they'll upgrade your current vehicle to a newer one with no money down for the same or lower payment. Please ask for Tiffany, Katie, or V-Day to see just how easy it is to exchange your vehicle for the same or lower payment. Shop their convenient Route 50 in Glenville location to join the #1 automotive family at Mohawk Honda, where they always go out of their way to please you. Local colleges are beefing up their schedules. I love it, and I'll tell you why next.
It's Capital Region Sports Saturday with Brady Farkas, sponsored by Mohawk Honda.
Back here, Brady Farkas, Capital Region Sports Saturday. Local college teams are beefing up their schedule, and I tell you what, I absolutely love it. Okay, we found out earlier in the offseason that UAlbany basketball was going to be taking on Kentucky in their opening game on November 16th at Rupp Arena. Okay, that's not only a great experience for the kids just saying that you played at Rupp Arena. That's a great experience for Will Brown, the head coach. That's a great experience for the team to gauge where they are on the nationals, on the national scheme of things, as the Great Danes will try to get to their 4th consecutive NCAA tournament this year. It's great as a preparation for your own league. If you can play well against a team like Kentucky, you can play well in the America East. Well, other teams locally are following the UAlbany basketball lead, and it came out this week that UAlbany football would be opening up their 2018 season at Pittsburgh, playing at Heinz Field. The same thing. That is great for the program. You saw it earlier. UAlbany football opened up their season this year at Buffalo. Now, Buffalo out of the MAC, the first time that the Great Danes had played a Division I FBS program. So in 2018, they're going to play their first ACC program. Okay, that is instrumental in what Greg Gattuso is trying to do at the University of Albany. Okay, you're trying to put your team out there nationally as much as possible, expose your program nationally as much as possible. Again, you're not expected to win that game. If you do, great. Portland State, FCS beat Washington State this year. Oregon State's lost. We all remember when Michigan lost to Appalachian State. It can happen. But UAlbany's not expected to win that football game in 2018. but it's just a great preparation to get yourself out there and get ready to play in your own league. Look around the CAA, this conference that UAlbany plays in. Delaware this week is in the CAA. They're a power in the conference. They're playing North Carolina. They're playing an ACC program here in the middle of the season. That is what UAlbany needs to do, and UAlbany's not the only one. In 60 seconds, we're going to bring on Siena Saints basketball broadcaster Tom Herder, and he's going to talk to us about Siena, who's going on the road to start their season. They're playing at Duke and at Wisconsin. At Duke, at Wisconsin. Those are the two teams that played in last year's NCAA championship. Jimmy Patsos is trying to rebuild the Saints program and get it back to a level of prominence nationally. And this is how you do that. Win or lose, stay close or get blown out. Getting yourself out there can only be a good thing. On the phone with Tom Herder, Siena Saints broadcaster. Tom, the Saints' full schedule comes out this week. November 13th, November 15th. The Saints are taking on Duke and Wisconsin in their buildings. These are both teams that played in the national championship game a year ago. How big is this for the program as Jimmy Patsos tries to rebuild it?
Well, I think they're big games. I mean, let's be honest, they're not games that the general fan is going to believe the team will win. But the players have a completely different mindset. Once the ball is thrown up, it's basketball, and Siena players have to believe they can win. And the other thing that's on their side is both of those programs lost significant pieces to their national championship game teams. So, those programs are retooling a little bit. They do it on a far easier scale than maybe a mid-major like a Siena would, but it's not like they're going to be facing returning first-team All-Americans. Those guys have left those programs. So in that regard, it's a positive.
This is, regardless of what the final outcome ends up being, this is huge for the program, though, isn't it, in terms of just getting Siena back on the national stage and then exposing yourself to potential recruits, right?
There's no question. I mean, when Siena College's name is along the ticker, along the bottom of the screen when someone's watching ESPN, that only helps the school. It helps recruiting. Kids want to play the best teams. And when you're a kid that's recruited at Siena's level, you had dreams and aspirations of playing at a higher level. That higher level is against Duke and Wisconsin. So now here these players have a chance to either prove themselves or gauge themselves against the best teams in the country. Two teams that have such name recognition across the board from both a recruiting standpoint and, of course, just a general public standpoint. So for Siena College to be playing these games, it's huge. It's really a testament to Jimmy Patsos. Jimmy was the guy that orchestrated this, so through his connections, and it's a great opportunity for the program.
Tom Herder, Siena Saints broadcaster, with us. Capital Region Sports Saturday, brought to you by Mohawk Honda. Tom, I'd be remiss if I didn't ask you. We're talking college basketball. You're pretty well involved with college basketball this summer through the recruiting process, through your younger son Kevin, your older son Tom playing at prep school. How excited are you for Kevin to make his commitment to Maryland, and then ultimately now to just be done with the recruiting process as a whole?
Well, it's a big relief to have Kevin's process done. It was a positive process throughout. It was just a very active one. And for the best thing is that Kevin is relieved it's over, and Kevin has a tremendous opportunity at the University of Maryland. Can't speak highly enough of Mark Turgeon and his staff and the program. The program is just going to, it's on an upward path, and Kevin wants to be a part of that. So it was a very busy summer, but it was a great process. He was lucky to have the options that he had. And, basketball this year will definitely take on, at the college level, a different perspective, because now we're going to be, front row participants as far as in front of the TV watching Maryland. Whereas in the years past, of course, we followed Siena so closely. We would follow Iowa because of our relationship with Fran McCaffrey. But now that Maryland is obviously Kevin's destination, that will be a school where I'm sure we will either be DVRing or watching every game possible.
Kevin Herder, the Shen standout senior, headed to Maryland. Tom Herder, his father, the Siena broadcaster, breaking down all things Saints with us this morning here on Capital Region Sports Saturday. Tom, best of luck, and we'll talk to you again this season. Thanks.
Thanks, Brady.
Yeah, we'll definitely be talking to Tom Herder again throughout the season as we chronicle the Saints, as we chronicle Kevin Huerter, the best player in the area, one of the most highly publicized player in the area since Jimmer Fredette, who we're going to talk about with Jason Minix of ESPN San Antonio in about 7 minutes. That coming up at 9:30. But yeah, Capital Region teams beefing up their schedule. Absolutely love it. It is necessary. Albany, on their side of things, they have gotten to a level of prominence through the basketball team, through the women's basketball team, through the men's lacrosse team. Softball's in the NCAA tournament. Track and field has been successful. Field hockey got to the Final Four. Albany football stepping up their game, going out to play the big boys 2018, playing Pitt. Absolutely is a necessity. Great job by Greg Gattuso and his staff and the athletic department in identifying that. For Siena, we just talked to Tom Huerter. There's the men's basketball broadcaster going out on the road playing Duke and Wisconsin this year, two teams that were in the national championship. Again, Tom Huerter nailed it right there. You heard him say, anytime Siena College's name is on the bottom ticker of ESPN, that is only a good thing. It's good for the alumni base, it's good for potential boosters and donors, and it's good for potential recruits who want to see that you're going out and going outside your conference, going outside your regional games, and you're getting on the national stage. So that can only be a win. 104.5 The Team, 104.5theteam.com. It is Capital Region Sports Saturday, hosted by brought to you by Mohawk Honda, your number one volume dealer in the Capital Region. I am your host, Brady Farkas. Shen at Saratoga last night, a rivalry renewed, one of the biggest games in the area each season, certainly the biggest game on last night's docket. Saratoga came in at 3-0. Shen was 1-2, but 1-0 in the Empire Division. So to that game, Saratoga wins it, and they win it handedly, 40-14 in favor of the Blue Streaks. They were up 27-0 at one point in that game before Shen came back, made it 27-14. Toga eventually pulls away, and I tell you what, Saratoga now 4-0, 2-0 in the Empire Division. Shen drops to 1-3 and 1-1 in league play. So look, the Empire Division is by no means settled yet. It's by no means settled yet, but Saratoga now has a game lead and has the tiebreaker to boot. It's going to be tough for Shen to top the Blue Streaks. Ballston Spa is also 2-0, and those teams will meet in the last game of the season, Ballston Spa and Saratoga. Saratoga is really good. Okay, they are really good. They have outscored their opponents 165-28 this season thus far. So Shen puts up 14 yesterday, but it's not enough. Toga wins that game 40-14. A couple of guys you've seen here in the Capital Region won a championship this week. Those will be former Tri-City Valley Cats playing for the Fresno Grizzlies. The Fresno Grizzlies, the AAA affiliate of the Houston Astros. So the Grizzlies won the Pacific Coast League Championship. They went on to take on the Columbus Clippers for the true Triple H title. So the Grizzlies, the PCL champs, the Clippers, the International League champs, they met. The Grizzlies won that, and 6 former Tri-City Valley Cats had a hand in that game alone. Look, every time you go to a Valley Cats game, you don't realize just who could be the next guy to make it to the show that you had a chance to see right here in the Capital Region. Right from the guys who you know about who've played here kind of in the first incarnation of the Valley Cats, Hunter Pence, Ben Zobrist, Bud Norris. These are guys that have helped teams get to the playoffs. Pence has won World Series. Zobrist has been to the All-Star game. On the current Astros, you've got George Springer, one of the top prospects in all of baseball, Jose Altuve. Last year was American League batting champion and American League stolen base champion. So bottom line, whenever you go to a Valley Cats game, appreciate what you're watching, because you never know who that's on that diamond at Joe Bruno Stadium could be someone that you're watching in the major leagues. And look, 6 guys on that roster or on that game alone against the Columbus Clippers in that true AAA championship game played here right in Tri-City. So, again, appreciate what you've got when you're out watching Valley Cats games. Glens Falls native Jimmer Fredette signed with the Spurs this offseason. Will he make the team? ESPN's San Antonio's Jason Minix tells us next.
It's Capital Region Sports Saturday with Brady Farkas, sponsored by Mohawk Honda.
Jason Minix, ESPN San Antonio, with us on the phone. Jason, we're all wondering here up in the Capital Region, we're less than a week away from NBA training camps opening up. Will Glens Falls native Jimmer Fredette make the Spurs roster?
It's such a great question. He's got a challenge. It's going to be tough for him, but they did bring him in and partially guarantee his contract. Now, in NBA money, $500,000 of a partial guarantee, Spurs can eat that if they need to. But I do think because it's a partial guarantee, he's at least going to get through training camp on the team. but does he make the entire season will be the bigger question.
Is he fighting for the true last spot on the roster, that 15th spot, or is he fighting for just one of 3 spots between 13 and 15? Exactly what is Jimmer fighting for right now?
He's really battling out for that last that last roster spot. And, that's what the Spurs have open. But, I look at Jimmer Fredette, and I know he hasn't had the NBA career everybody thought he was going to have coming out of college because he lacks size. He doesn't play good defense, but the guy can shoot. And if he can come in and shoot and fits in with the Spurs system, which he seems like he's that kind of guy, he's going to have a chance to contribute. When one of the advantages that Jimmer has here in making this Spurs team is, Greg Popovich is going to rest a lot of the guys. That's going to give him playing time opportunity. Can he play a little defense? But more importantly, if the Spurs need somebody to come in and knock down shots, can he do that? And we know he can do that, and can Pop and that staff bring him along and get him playing some kind of defense. And if he can show some promise there, he'll have a chance to stick in San Antonio.
So being between the 10th guy or the 15th guy isn't all that important in the Spurs roster construction. It's just being in the rotation is what's the important thing, because if he can make the roster no matter where he is on the depth chart, he's going to have an opportunity to play, right? It sounds like.
Yeah, and that's the way San Antonio does things. I mean, there are some teams out there that can't go 7, 8 deep. The Spurs will go 15 deep. They have done that in the past. And, Pop is also a master of matchups. He might play a lot in one game and not see the floor for 4 games, and then all of a sudden, 2 weeks later, he's playing a lot because of the matchups. And Greg Popovich and his coaching staff, Chad Forcier, one of the assistants, is very good at adjusting and getting guys ready for that. So, I think Jimmer's got a shot here. I don't know if I'm living up in your neck of the woods that I'd go buy a Jimmer Spurs jersey, unless you just want to have a Spurs jersey to add to the Jimmer collection, if you will. But, he is going to have an opportunity, and the partial guarantee tells me he probably makes the opening day roster. But I believe that guarantee is only good through January, and then it becomes expendable if somebody else is out there or if they have to make a trade or do something because of injury.
What is it about the Spurs or about the organization or about Pop himself that these kind of cast-offs are able to go and excel there? Because look, there's a slew of guys who you didn't think were going to be great players or hadn't been great players to that point, whether it's Danny Green or Thiago Splitter or Matt Bonner or whatever. They just find their way in San Antonio. Are people down there thinking Jimmer could be this year's version of those guys?
There is some excitement in San Antonio about Jimmer because of the name. I mean, my goodness. In 2011, a lot of people wanted the Spurs to draft Jimmer. Think about that. 5 spots later, we end up with Kawhi Leonard, and that has worked out really well for San Antonio. But you look at it and you say, you got a name. He had the great college career, and Greg Popovich, as you mentioned, is known to take players, get them in the system. If he buys into the system, he'll have an opportunity, because one thing Greg Popovich doesn't do is he doesn't take a guy and say, this is what we're doing, you just have to figure it out. He's going to maximize the skill set that Jimmer has and find out how that's going to complement the San Antonio Spurs. I mean, and you look at it, Bruce Bowen might be the best example. Bruce Bowen was with Miami, got cut, went to Europe, and Greg Popovich brought him in, and now Bruce Bowen's number 12 hangs in the rafters at the AT&T Center. Greg Popovich, time after time after time, has taken a guy that nobody else wanted, and that guy's been a superstar here. At the same time, when they've gone other places, like a Gary Neal, they're not playing well at all. Greg Popovich and that staff do have quite the knack of getting the most out of a player within the system, because they utilize that system skill set as opposed to trying to get that player to adjust to the system.
It's Capital Region Sports Saturday, brought to you by Mohawk Honda, your number 1 volume dealer in the Capital Region. On the phone with Jason Minix, ESPN San Antonio, talking about Jimmer Fredette. And Jason, we've heard for years now that Jimmer's main liability is his defensive ability, or what people to perceive a lack thereof defensive ability. But people watch the NBA and they say, hey, there's no defense going on anyways. So why is this such a big issue for Jimmer?
Well, because Greg Popovich hangs his hat on defense, and it starts on the defensive side in San Antonio. And, I know through the years, as the game has changed, Greg Popovich has, moved that line where he wants that defensive field goal percentage to be. but at the same time, it does start with defense. Now, a game in December, game in January, game in February, it might not matter, but that defense matters when you get into playoff basketball, and that's really what it's about in San Antonio. I mean, you look at teams like, Mike D'Antoni's Phoenix Suns team. They were fantastic during the regular season, but when it came time to having to play defense in the playoffs, they were awful, and they end up getting ousted. So, defense is still important, and the way the Spurs play defense is everybody has to be good at their individual defensive assignments so that the overall team defense is better. If one guy is slacking defensively, it throws everything off in San Antonio.
Jason Minix, ESPN San Antonio, talking about Jimmer Fredette and his opportunity and chances to make the Spurs roster. Training camp begins in less than a week. Jason, we'll be in touch with you again, I'm sure, here as we move forward here. Everyone back here in the Capital Region really rooting for Jimmer. And look, if he does make the Spurs roster, you guys are going to be happy with him down there too.
He seems like the right guy, and I know that sounds odd, but the Spurs value character and team-oriented players more than anything else. And are you going to be a right fit? Are you going to be a right teammate? And that really starts with Tim Duncan and works all the way down. But the excitement with LaMarcus Aldridge coming in, he's going to get the attention, which I think also will help Jimmer some. But I think he's got a chance, and we'll see. I'm hoping so. I mean, I liked him in college. Hopefully he'll work out here.
Jason, thanks a lot. We'll talk to you again soon.
Appreciate it.
Jason Minix, ESPN San Antonio, with us here at Capital Region Sports Saturday, brought to you by Mohawk Honda, your number one volume dealer in the Capital Region. We do it every Saturday from 9 to 10, all the local sports talk that you want to hear, all the local stories that you crave. And look, we're all wishing Jimmer Fredette the best down in San Antonio. It seems like if there's a good fit for Jimmer in the NBA, it seems like it would be the Spurs. The Spurs are the Patriots of the NBA, or the Patriots can just seem to take somebody who was somebody else's cast off and turn them into gold. And one such guy would be Albany native Dion Lewis, who had another big game last week against the Bills. He had more than 100 yards on 13 touches. Rex Ryan said he didn't know his name before the game. He stayed true to that after the game, said he still did not know Dion Lewis's name. Well, Rex, maybe you should have paid attention. More than 100 yards as the Pats beat the Bills 40-32. There's one thing only one thing that can derail Dion Lewis's chance at playing time. It's not LeGarrette Blount coming back. We saw it last week against Buffalo. Blount played just 7 snaps, and Lewis played more than 70. So LeGarrette Blount coming back didn't have the impact some people thought. The only thing that can get in Dion Lewis's way are the fumbles. Dion Lewis has lost 2 fumbles in 2 games in just 32 touches. 2 fumbles and 32 touches makes 1 fumble for every 16 touches, and that, my friends, is not a good ratio. Dion Lewis has got to hold on to the ball better if he wants to stay out of Bill Belichick's doghouse and wants to stay on the field for the defending Super Bowl champions. Look, I did the research. I went to MassLive.com and found out other Patriot running backs and their propensity or lack thereof to fumble. Stephen Ridley is a guy who the Pats fans ran out of town because he fumbled the ball so much, and he only fumbled 1 in every 75 touches. So they run Ridley out of town for being a fumbler, and he only fumbled once every 75 touches. You compare that, LeGarrette Blount once every 74 touches, Dion Lewis once every 16. Dion Lewis has got to hold on to the football if he wants to stay in the rotation in the backfield in New England. Look, he's been of great help to Tom Brady catching passes, filling that Shane Vereen role. He's picked up the blitz well. He's run out of the backfield well, between the tackles better than people expected. He just has to hold on to the football. Remember, there's a lot of great running backs who fumbled the ball early in their career and then got better as they went on. Look right here in New York, Tiki Barber. Tiki Barber is a guy who constantly fumbled the football, but then in the back half of his career really solidified his ability to hold on to it. Amon Green fumbled all the time. He was with Seattle, went to Green Bay, and was one of the best running backs in the league. So Dion Lewis has time to correct this issue, but the Patriots take on the Jaguars tomorrow. The Pats, by all accounts, are heavy favorites in that game, but we will be watching here in the Capital Region to see Dion Lewis see his role, make sure that it continues to stay where it's been, and make sure that he stays on the field. It's Capital Region Sports Saturday, brought to you by Mohawk Honda here on 104.5 The Team, 104.5theteam.com. I am your host, Brady Farkas. Lacrosse news here in late September, almost into October. The World Indoor Lacrosse Championships taking place this week in Syracuse. Yesterday, the Iroquois Nationals beat the USA to head to the finals. They'll play Sunday in the gold medal game against Canada. And why you should care about that. Number one, Team USA was in the game, but for the Iroquois Nationals, representing them, former Albany stars Miles Thompson and Lyle Thompson. And in that win yesterday, Miles had 8 points. Lyle had 6. Each of them had 3 goals. So congratulations to the Thompson brothers and the Iroquois Nationals as they advance to the finals on Sunday afternoon, tomorrow afternoon, against Canada. Again, this show brought to you by Mohawk Honda. It would not be possible without them. They provide the most impeccable customer service. They try to do things right all of the time for their entire family of customers. They've got over 1,000 new and pre-owned vehicles available. They're open extended hours in all their departments. You can go shop there, over 10 acres of savings opportunities, or you can go online 24/7 at MohawkHonda.com, and they will provide you the lowest, no-hassle prices to suit your budget. Okay, go ask about their Mohawk Honda exchange program. Okay, that program, they'll upgrade your current vehicle to a newer one with no money down for the same or lower payment. Just go in and ask for Tiffany, Katie, or V-Day to see just how easy it is to exchange your vehicle for the same or lower payment. If new isn't for you, their inventory includes more than 300 of the highest quality pre-owned vehicles, all at one below market value, no hassle price. Shop their convenient Route 50 in Glenville location to join the #1 automotive family at Mohawk Honda, where they always go out of their way to please you. High school football on the docket for today. Queensbury and Burnt Hills is a showdown in Class A. We'll hear from Burnt Hills head coach Matt Schell next.
It's Capital Region Sports Saturday with Brady Farkas, sponsored by Mohawk Honda.
Back here, our last segment, 15 minutes left. We do this every Saturday from 9 to 10 a.m., so if you're joining us late, remember to come back a little earlier next week. I am Brady Farkas here. It's Capital Region Sports Saturday, brought to you by Mohawk Honda, where at Mohawk Honda, they are the #1 volume dealer in all of the Capital Region, and they make this show possible. On this show, we're talking all things local sports, everything you want to know, all the local stories. Last night, high school football, Ballston Spa beats CBA 14-12. The significance of that, the Scotties. Ballston Spa, the Scotties, now 2-0 in the Empire Division. They are tied with Saratoga, who beat Shen last night 40-14. Both teams 2-0, and they will meet the last game of the season. So the last week of the season will be Saratoga and Ballston Spa. And look, there's a lot that can happen between now and then. But both teams are 2-0, so that could be a very, very big game in the Empire Division. Top performers of the night last night, Glens Falls' Aaron Sampson had an 89-yard punt return in the second quarter. Oh, by the way, also had an 80-yard kickoff return to begin the second half as Glens Falls topped Cohoes in a big way. Green Tech moved to 4-0, partially behind the help of Rakee Thompson. He threw a touchdown, caught a touchdown, and, oh, by the way, had 2 interceptions, including one on the goal line, as the Eagles topped Gloversville. Capital Region Sports Saturday, Brady Farkas here, brought to you by Mohawk Honda. The big matchup on today's schedule, on the Saturday schedule, is Burnt Hills and Queensbury. It's a battle of the Spartans. Remember, that was our social media fan battle game here at 104.5 The Team. Every Monday on Twitter, our staff sits down, Armin Levac, myself, A-Dubs, and Gaz, we sit down, we go out through this schedule, and we pick the biggest game of that week. And what we do at 8:45 a.m. and 5:45 p.m., we put out a tweet, and we let you know. Okay, so in this case, it was you could favorite that tweet for Burnt Hills, you can retweet that tweet for Queensbury, and then we tabulate them every day. We give Armin and Levac updates, and they update you on their show, and they let you know who's winning. And the school with the most social media interaction and the most fan engagement throughout the week, Armin and Levac wear their school colors on Friday's show, and yesterday Armin and Levac were wearing maroon and white because Burnt Hills won that fan battle pretty handily. Now, that has no bearing on what will happen in the game this afternoon, 1:30 at Queensbury, but right now, Burnt Hills certainly has a lot of excitement about the game, and why not? It's the biggest game on the schedule. Class A, these are two powers. Class A is very, very deep. It always has been. But Queensbury and Glens Falls, or Queensbury and Burnt Hills, rather, are two teams that are consistently in the picture for a chance to go to the Carrier Dome. And we're going to bring on Matt Shell, the Burnt Hills head coach, here in about 30 seconds. We're going to ask him about this game, about this rivalry, about what it means. Queensbury's been to the Dome the last 2 years. Last year they fell to Indian River in what was a high-scoring game, Indian River from up north. But this game is really, this is the game. It's too bad it's on a Saturday just because it's going to get lost in the shuffle a little bit from those Friday night games. But this game will be the game that you don't want to miss. You'll want to pick up your copy of tomorrow's paper and see how this game went down. Matt Shell, Burnt Hills head coach, on the phone with us now on Capital Region Sports Saturday. Coach, big game today. What have you guys been doing this week to prepare? Coach, what have you guys been doing to get ready for this matchup?
Oh, first, thanks for having me on your show. But as far as getting ready, it's anytime you play a team like Queensbury, and they're a real physical, real aggressive team, and yes, it's fundamentally really sound. So we've been concentrating on a lot of fundamentals and just making sure, kids are focused on those little things that lead into the game.
Now, I graduated high school in 2008. I went to Shen, and I seem to remember every year that I was in high school and then subsequently beyond, Burnt Hills being the team that came out of Class A. The last 2 years, it's been Queensbury that's been to the Dome. Is this a big rivalry between the two programs now?
And I think the fans might think that that's a rivalry, but as far as and I think that's good for football. If the fans think that that's the rivalry, then that's great. But, we've got some great teams in Class A. You look at Troy, Amsterdam, ourselves, and Queensbury are all teams that have been to the Carrier Dome over the years and have won state championships. So I think that our league in general is just a great league. I don't know that there's many places in the state that can say they have 4 state champions that come out of one particular league, and we're able to say that. So I think our league is just a great league. We've got really good coaches, and there are a lot of great players in the division and in the league as a whole. So I think it's just a real competitive league to play in, and it's an honor to be able to be one of those teams that are in that league.
Just how big of a test is it for you guys here early in the season to go on the road and play an opponent the caliber of Queensbury? Any
road game is difficult, but when you're up at Queensbury, and traditionally they just have a heck of a team. And, John Urians and his staff do a great job with those kids, and, their kids have bought into their system. And so if you go up there, and, we played some great football games up there over the years, and, it's a big challenge. And, we'll know what we're all about. By about 3:30, 4 o'clock, we'll know where we stand as far as our team is concerned. We have a good group of kids that work real hard, that understand that it's a big division game. And, the season's at the halfway point as far as the regular season's concerned on Saturday. So the year goes fast, and, these kids have been going at it since mid-August. And from here on out, every game's important. When you talk about building up a college program, you do it through recruiting. You're able to go out and find your own guys. When you talk about a high school program, getting it to this level of dominance really requires you to build a great feeder program, build a great youth program. How long did that take you at Burnt Hills, and just how vital is it for you to get into the youth programs and really create that culture early? Our youth program has always been real supportive of our high school program. We've had a lot of great coaches in the youth program over the years that have put a lot of time into the kids. And the other piece is, I think, from that is our kids play a lot of different sports. So in a sport like football, if you're a talented athlete from a different sport, you can come into a football program and really make a difference. There's a lot of different skill sets in football that you can, hone in other sports. And I think that has always helped us as well. Burnt Hills head coach Matt Shell joining us here on Capital Region Sports Saturday, brought to you by Mohawk Honda, your #1 volume dealer in the Capital Region. Burnt Hills getting set to take on Queensbury later this afternoon, 1:30 p.m. That game at Queensbury. Coach, best of luck, and we'll be talking to you again soon. Thank you for having me. Coach Shell with us here. 104.5 The Team, 104.5theteam.com. Burnt Hills, Queensbury this afternoon, 1:30 p.m. That game at Queensbury. It'll be a great test for Burnt Hills. Burnt Hills 3-0, Queensbury 2-1. But whatever happens in this game, whichever team wins is going to have the upper hand here in Class A, seemingly as we make our run to the playoffs here now, halfway point of the season. Hard to believe we haven't even hit October yet, and we're already talking about homecomings. We're talking about fall coming, and soon, before you know it, it's going to be November, and we're going to be talking about the playoffs here as we get through Week 8. So that is the big game on the docket today.
Queensbury hosting Burnt Hills, 1:30 p.m. Other local contests on the docket today. UAlbany football, 3 p.m. They're hosting Duquesne. The Great Danes take a break from CAA play, get a non-conference matchup in. They'll also play Holy Cross next week in a non-conference game. Danes lose last week at James Madison, 42-28. And what was a good game for UAlbany, a good stepping stone game for them, again, to gauge where they are in the conference. Look, UAlbany was picked to be a bottom feeder in the CAA. James Madison is always at the top, ranked in the top 25 of the FCS poll. So UAlbany to be within 2 touchdowns and have kept it close throughout the game. That's a good sign for the Danes, and Greg Gattuso has that program on the uptick. Local hockey notes. First ECAC coaches poll came out this week. Union picked to finish 6th. RPI picked to finish 10th. Union is now 2 years removed from winning that national championship. So Rick Bennett and his staff will continue to try to bring the Dutchmen back to that level of national prominence. We all remember how fun that was 2 Aprils ago, okay? And seeing what Union did and what that meant to this area. So we wish both the Dutchmen and the Engineers good luck here in the 2014-15 seasons. Capital Region Sports Saturday brought to you by Mohawk Honda here on 104.5 The Team and 104.5theteam.com. Earlier in the show, we had Jason Minix of ESPN San Antonio on. We're talking about Jimmer Fredette. Will he make the Spurs? Jason Minix said yes, and here's what else he had to say.
You know, he is going to have an opportunity, and the partial guarantee tells me he probably makes the opening day roster. But I believe that guarantee is only good through January, and then it becomes expendable if somebody else is out there or if they have to make a trade or do something because of injury.
So Minix thinks that Jimmer Fredette will make the Spurs roster. Part of it is money, and that's okay because we want to see Jimmer make the roster. The Spurs have some obligation to him. They have something invested in him because of that partially guaranteed contract. So Jimmer will get a chance, it looks like, in all likelihood, to make the Spurs roster. We're less than a week away from NBA training camp starting. Jimmer and the rest of his teammates, most of the rest of his teammates, are already in San Antonio. Again, Brady Farkas, Capital Region Sports Saturday, brought to you by Mohawk Honda. We do it every week. Every single week, every Saturday, 9 to 10 a.m. If you missed any part of the show, we'll have the podcast up at 1045theteam.com here later this afternoon. All the interviews that are on the show are on YouTube, youtube.com/team1045. All our interviews from the entire station, youtube.com/team1045. If you missed any part of it, go check us out there. Go check us out, 1045theteam.com. Armin and Levac back on Monday, 3 to 7, breaking down week 3 in the NFL season. We'll see you next Saturday, 9 to 10 a.m. right here, 1045 The Team.